Long ago, men set sail in wooden canoes to brave the great ocean. The history of these ingenious navigators, driven by their unquenchable thirst for discovery, has come down to us over the ages. And the heart of the Pacific Isles still beats to the rhythm of the legends spawned in the wake of these men. But who were the first Polynesians? Where did they come from? What was the route they followed? For this new adventure in the Pacific Isles, Francis Le Guen and his crew set off on a journey that truly takes us back through time. Starting point, the Marquesas Islands. This is where the first Polynesians were settled some 2,500 years ago. The crew ventures deep into the heart of the dense forest on the island of Hiva Oa in the search of clues to this original civilization. The thick vegetation seems to hide more than one secret. Suddenly, as they happen upon a clearing, the crew at last discovers what they came here to find: the starting point of ancient Polynesian culture. These tikis are the oldest in the Pacific. They confirm that this is indeed the spot where it all began. These basalt statues play a major role in primitive oceanic art. They symbolize the ancestors, the founders of humanity. Even if questions about the date still remain, many archaeologists believe the Marquesas were the first populated area in Polynesia. A jumping-off point for the colonization of the other Pacific islands. The first Polynesians didn't see the ocean as an obstacle, but more as a route that few up until then had dared to explore. Our divers explore a fish-filled cove in search of traces that these people of the sea may have left behind. Here along the southern coast of Hiva Oa Island, a site was recently discovered not far below the water's surface. Large rocks, visibly sculpted by human hands, litter the floor. No doubt these were sinkers, used to ballast fishermen's nets. The nets, made of tropical vines or coconut fiber, would have floated and so needed these weights to anchor them to the bottom.
I'm amazed at the ingenuity and patience it took to carve grooves and pierce these holes using stone tools. How many generations of fishermen cast their nets here, cursing the swell of the sea each time one of their anchors would get stuck? Underwater archaeology in the Marquesas is just beginning and will surely reveal many more delightful discoveries like the ones we're about to find on Nuku Hiva.
The steep coasts of the Marquesas didn't leave much room for seaside villages. The various tribes soon headed inland to settle in the valleys, where they concentrated their efforts on developing agriculture. Our crew takes a little jaunt back in time, accompanied by warriors, servants of Marquesan tradition.
Is this where we stopped, Chuka?
Yes.
Because the horses can't go any farther.
Right, we can't go on because with the slope on the river, it's no good.
The island's steep hills formerly provided boundaries and natural protection for its people. Today, they make it tough going for our crew.
Most of the designs on my arms are epus, designs that belong to our ancestors. I got half my face tattooed to have something that belonged to the days of our ancestors, because that was their culture.
You have a modern face, we could say, and one that's...
Engraved with the culture of our ancestors. A warrior is a servant. You don't just say, he's a warrior about someone. He's someone tough, it's true. The life of a warrior is tough. But he's a servant, he serves his people, his tribe, his chief, all that.
Here we're in the middle of the forest, but the ocean is very important as well. It's the realm of souls.
The ocean is our Mother Earth. Marquesans are what's called a Maui people in Tahitian, which means a people of gatherers. That's the real meaning of our origins. A people of gatherers, fruit gatherers. We go to the sea and gather our fish. We fish. The sea is a tree in the ocean. You go pick your fish from it.
The importance of the sea, like the origins of their ancestors, is engraved on their skin, but also on the rocks. Like a stone book, this petroglyph tells their story.
Wow. This is the front of the canoe, right?
Yeah.
And those 4 lines there must be the prow.
On the front of the canoe, there was always something they carved.
A sculpture, right? And these figures here.
That's a little man.
Right, a human figure.
Human, yes.
And this is what you came here in?
Yes, and this.
From
far away.
From way across the sea. Hold on, there's more here.
Yeah.
Hey, looks like a fish.
A dolphin.
A dolphin, that's right. Are there lots of dolphins here?
As far as I know, there are 2 kinds. A dolphin with a long nose and a dolphin that looks a little bit like a whale.
This would be that one.
The Marquesas archipelago is a paradise for dolphins, and home to no fewer than 10 Delphinidae species. Among them, a rare species found nowhere else but in these islands, the melon-headed dolphin.
These creatures, with their enigmatic smile, tolerate my presence for a few moments. While I swim along with them, I wonder about the meaning of the petroglyph. Could this dolphin have guided the first navigators who bestowed upon it a sacred status? Or have I stepped straight into a Marquesan legend? Once upon a time, there was a widower fisherman who lived with his 6 children. One day, he was so happy with his catch that he decided to organize a diving contest. The last one to come up for air would get a double helping of poi, the fermented fruit of the breadfruit tree. The children disappeared into the water. The minutes went by, and the father soon began to despair. He was sure his children had been drowned. Then suddenly, 6 animals he'd never seen before leapt from the water with broad grins across their faces, twirled in the air, and fell back into the foaming sea. He realized his children had been transformed, and because they'd once been human, they had a love for people. The melon-headed dolphin was born.
It's possible these dolphins led Polynesian navigators from island to island. But if the discovery and colonization of the Pacific Isles took place via the sea, some legends also state that man used underground passageways as well. To try and shed light on this mystery, the crew heads to the island of Ua Huka for a dangerous dive into the bowels of the earth.
That cave is eroding away and has partially collapsed, and that's a kind of false floor. Either there's an underwater passage beneath it or a passage up above.
The constant ebb and flow make it hard to get the boat close to the rock, and the crew members, like their gear, need to be hoisted up along a dangerous wall.
Careful, it's really slippery. Steep. An interior sea. Current's really strong. Watch out, the current's really strong. Okay, let's go check out what's in the water.
Cave diving is one of the trickiest and most challenging fields of underwater exploration. The water flowing into the cave stirs up powerful currents, making things complicated for our divers who need to be extra cautious. This limestone cave might seem deserted and lifeless, and yet... Crayfish, crabs, and curious saltwater shrimp with phosphorescent eyes have made their home here in the darkness. The divers forge a path through a narrow cavern, struggling against the swell of the sea. There must be a passageway into the ocean, but will it be big enough for a man to fit through? It's not certain this tunnel has always been underwater. According to legend, people once used to come this way on foot. In the Pacific, tectonic movements of the plates has sometimes led to a vertical shift in the ocean floor, causing the level of the sea to rise by about 1 meter every 1,000 years.
We can hardly believe it when we finally reach the end of the tunnel. I feel a certain sense of relief to be back in the open waters, the sun-streaked blue of the sea. We've crossed the island from one side to the other.
Francis is surrounded by an incredible kingdom of marine life. where the reigning sovereign is the majestic manta ray. Nicknamed sea devils by sailors, manta rays have often suffered from a bad reputation. Maybe because of the way they move like some strange bird along the bottom of the sea. In the past, fishermen believed they were even capable of dragging ships down to the depths in the blink of an eye or the flap of a wing. Which perhaps explains why mantas have been hunted for so long. Today they appear on the list of endangered species. And yet manta rays are peaceful creatures that feed on plankton. Their wingspan can reach 6 meters and they can weigh over a ton. Impressive dimensions that seem at odds with their calm, graceful flight. Back above water, the slow ballet of the manta rays is replaced by the frenetic agitation of thousands of birds. Sooty terns, on the southwestern tip of Ua Huka, the Isle of Birds is nothing short of a sanctuary for these terns, present since the very beginnings of Polynesian mythology. Their eggs are part of the ancestral diet of the Marquesan people, who've been coming to this island for thousands of years, a ritual that's kept its aspects of a test of strength.
They peck, huh?
Yeah,
It's when we walk over their eggs.
that's right.
You come here often to gather eggs?
I do.
It's an old custom.
It dates way back.
The ancients already knew about this place?
That's right.
Are there birds over there too, Leonard?
Yes.
You go there too?
No, it's not allowed. Tapu, as we say.
Tapu. For Marquesans, Polynesians, tapu is something forbidden, I know, but is it anything else?
That's it, forbidden.
The life of Polynesians has long been governed by taboos and numerous divinities. These birds have maintained a sacred character and are even at the origin of legends that have crossed the ages and the ocean. East of the Marquesas lies Easter Island, perhaps the most isolated land on Earth, where terns were also a pillar of local culture and belief. If Easter Island is especially known for its moai, the enigmatic and monumental basalt statues that paid homage to the ancestors, birds represented the future. Tern eggs were powerfully symbolic here. They were considered to be the incarnation of Makemake, the god who created the world, and represented the renewal of life. To avoid endless fratricidal fighting, the people had a ritual which ensured peace would reign. The birdman celebration. This was the most important ceremony of the year. Each clan would choose a representative to go gather the first egg laid on the islet of Motu Nui. They would risk their lives in the endeavor, and the one who got the egg became the birdman, a war leader with the status of a demigod. Over the course of what was one of the greatest maritime adventures of all time, people sailed thousands of kilometers across the Pacific, fostering a common culture as they went. These great migrations explain how Hawaii, Easter Island, and New Zealand were populated, lands of extreme conditions. Geological activity and tectonic movement have wreaked havoc with the geography in these places, which could explain the mysterious sunken graves that the ancients speak of. Our divers are going to have to take some risks to check this out.
It's rising, and that worries me. We have to be super careful, because in the cave, you know the problem. The swell pushes you inside, and there have already been fatal accidents, people who get crushed against the rocks. And in terms of pressure, we're going to be in very little water, then suddenly hit really strong pressure in our ears and on the ribcage. So as soon as you feel something like that, get out immediately. Come on.
Indeed, the strong swell rocking the boat doesn't bode well. Beneath the surface, the divers suffer the blows of the powerful waves that crash against the walls. It's nearly impossible for them to fight against the powerful currents. Dangerously tossed about in the churning water, the divers reach the base of the underwater cliff where the entrance to the cave lies. The light shed by their lamps reveals odd heaps of stones. Francis thinks they might be the sunken graves referred to in the legends. But the stones have been soldered together by time and aren't about to spill their secrets.
We discover another indication of human presence, a circular basin that seems to have been carved out of the basalt. This time, it's hard to believe it's a coincidence. What could be the meaning of this site, and how old is it? This discovery, if it proves to be true, could push the date of Marquesan inhabitation way back in time.
Several days into our expedition, we're beginning to get a clear picture of the face and culture of the first Polynesians. The crew now knows how the Polynesian triangle was populated. And yet, a simple vegetable seems to plant seeds of doubt in their minds.
Hey, look. I had trouble finding these, even though you see them on every island. Here they call it a sweet potato, in New Zealand, kumara. In fact, you find this vegetable on every island we've visited in Polynesia. The problem is, it isn't native to here, or even to Asia. It's native to South America. That much we're sure of. Which means that either the first Polynesians made it all the way to South America and brought it back, or that the inhabitants of Peru at the time discovered Polynesia.
That's great. They're very good.
I know.
Us Marquesans live on this.
The presence of the sweet potato raises several questions and incites our explorers to pursue their adventure even farther.
Is that the boat?
Yes,
It's pretty Spartan.
that's the American way.
American way in the Marquesas? I don't believe that.
All the crew's certitudes are shaken. Could it be the Polynesian islands weren't discovered by the Marquesans alone? Did the peoples mix? To find out, the crew sets off on a turbulent journey in search of answers. Direction? Ua Pou. Here on this island, located 45 kilometers south of Nuku Hiva, they meet with Pierre Ottino, a researcher and doctor of prehistoric archaeology. The expert in Pacific island cultures leads our adventurers even farther back in time.
Here's the famous rock.
Is it an original? It wasn't moved?
No, it's too big anyway. They moved huge ones, but not this one. They left it where it was. It had a function. Otherwise, they would have eliminated it. This is the rock that gave the site its name.
Really?
Kea he koani. Kea, rock. He, leave. Koani, soul. So, the rock where souls leave from. There's no doubt this rock was used to prepare bodies, maybe for sacrifices or for a kind of mummification to preserve them. We're not sure. Look, there's a part that's relatively flat on the surface, and then there's this furrow where, I guess we could say, the juices drained from the body.
Right, and you think it was chiseled out?
Some were, yes, but I get the feeling this one's natural. Because if it had been chiseled, then it would be much more regular. But for them, it was obvious the rock was meant for that purpose, because they used it. You see the upper part that's a little indented? That's where the body was placed to be prepared. Then obviously everything that would drain out of the body could flow here and far away, pass through the toa and off over there.
What'd they do with the bodies afterwards?
Well, either it was a body used for sacrifice, an offering to the gods for prosperity, or else it was a body meant to be preserved, and there was a real preparation to dry it out and preserve it as best as possible. These sites are alive, the rocks are alive. You need to be careful. You just can't walk on a site without taking special precautions. That's maybe what protected this site, in fact, because most of them were damaged.
Yeah.
The parts far away, it was maybe more tapu, more feared than the others.
With the arrival of Europeans and Christianity in the 16th century, ancestral Polynesian culture based on oral tradition nearly disappeared. It wasn't until the archaeological discoveries of the 20th century that its acclaim was restored. Today, the Marquesans are deeply involved in this cultural renaissance and reclaiming their traditions.
What surprises you the most as someone who's really studied the Polynesian and Marquesan people? What's the most amazing and disconcerting thing?
Well, not the most disconcerting, but the most amazing thing is they actually made it here.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a...
First miracle.
Yeah, it's the first miracle, we might say, even if it's certainly not miraculous, because they were talented, they were perceptive, because they had all sorts of techniques, and they were people who really wanted to discover things and travel as far as they could, and that's extraordinary. But when you look at the world, in general, the populating of continents all happened on foot, or else you could see the island and float or swim there. In fact, they needed highly developed navigational techniques. Given the distances, that is pretty exceptional.
So on this site...
I like it here. You've got sites everywhere on the Polynesian islands, but they're not always visible.
It almost looks like a South American temple. I know that's highly disputed, but...
Yeah, a lot of people have made analogies like that with certain Amerindian structures. But, well, it's obvious that there were certainly contacts there, but more Polynesia, America, and coming back, rather than the opposite.
That's right, it was most likely the Polynesians who transited by Easter Island and one day discovered Peru.
That's right. Certainly because they always went east. They came across Easter Island, which is all alone, and not part of an archipelago that's easier to discover coming from the west. So it's impossible. And all the Pacific Islands were visited. So it's not chance. It's not a canoe that drifted off course and...
No, they were looking.
Right, they were looking. There was a real desire to discover.
So they most likely encountered Amerindians, pre-Incas.
That's highly possible.
Did they bring things back from over there?
Well, the famous sweet potato, which was adopted here.
So, if we want to go back a little farther in time, here we're in the Marquesas, but where should we go?
You have to go west, that's for sure.
In other words?
Well, you have to go west towards Samoa, the Tongas, no doubt, and beyond.
The first Polynesians discovered the Marquesas archipelago around 500 BC. But to find the trace of their ancestors who left Southeast Asia 3,000 years BC, we need to travel even farther back in time and cross the ocean. It all began in the Tonga Islands, 4,000 kilometers west of the Marquesas. Unlike the Marquesas, the arrival of Europeans in the Kingdom of Tonga didn't destroy the island's culture one bit. Of all the Polynesian peoples, the inhabitants here were best able to use the colonial presence to their advantage, while jealously maintaining their own traditions. The monarchy, helmed by a line of sacred kings, is still bolstered today by a powerful Methodist church. Inhabited probably since 1200 BC, the Kingdom of Tonga is supposedly the actual starting point from which the population of the Pacific took place. Tongan mythology is filled with legends describing the creation and origins of the archipelago. The stories have been handed down over the centuries from generation to generation. Some tell how the gods pulled the islands up from the depths of the ocean with a hook made of turtle shells and whale bones. Poetic tales like these about divinities have surely sparked the imagination of archaeologists who come here in search of answers to the origins of Polynesian culture. Researchers attempt to revive the first Polynesians as their very descendants look on. On the island of Tonga Tapu, discoveries made by Dave Burley, a Canadian archaeologist and expert on Tonga, help us gain a better understanding of who these early Polynesians were.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
You found something?
This is a piece of obsidian. And obsidian doesn't come from this island, it's a volcanic.
No obsidian on this island.
No obsidian on this island. It has to come either from in far northern Tonga up at Tafahi, which is about 400 kilometers away.
So this is proof they came by boat.
Oh yes, for sure.
Why did they move on?
Well, we don't know. I mean, we assume that the populations in Tonga and Samoa would have been very large by that time. And so people begin to move outward, exploring, trying to find new lands. One of the things that's characteristic of Polynesian society is there's a lot of competition between chiefs. So chiefs without land would take their people and move off to new islands, new areas. This one here is part of a large bracelet, like that. So it's a bracelet fragment.
They were artists.
They were truly artists.
Their names?
Lapita.
Lapita.
The interesting thing about the Lapita people is they all made the same kind of pottery. It all has very specific kinds of designs. The ancestors of the Polynesians are the Lapita people.
Even Easter Island?
Ultimately, yes. The Lapita peoples came to Tonga and Samoa. And this is as far east as they actually got. But we know that once the Lapita peoples came, there's no change in the archaeological record, so the ancestors of the Tongans are the Lapita people.
Traces of Lapita culture confirm the common origins of people from Southeast Asia and Polynesia. The population no doubt spread from west to east. Yet a mystery remains. Up until then, people had managed to conquer new lands either on foot or sailing from one island to the next. But the coasts of the Kingdom of Tonga that face towards the Marquesas have nothing but the immensity of the Pacific Ocean stretching before them. No land in sight. And as if that weren't enough, these incredible seafarers had to cross powerful currents swirling above dizzying chasms. Underwater, the divers are welcomed into a garden of coral, bathed in warm, transparent water. Clownfish and balloonfish seem to play hide and seek with the multicolored creatures dwelling in the reef. A profusion of life burgeons near one of the most incredible underwater abysses on Earth, the Tonga Trench. The dizzying drop, 10,880 meters down, makes it the second deepest trench in the world. As we dive further down and the light fades, the atmosphere grows ominous. The feeling's accentuated when we spot a foreboding figure lurking in the distance. The oceanic shark is one of the most dangerous sharks on Earth. This voracious omnivore is a fast and powerful opportunist that can grow up to 3.9 meters long. Known for its aggressiveness and curiosity vis-à-vis divers, the shark is no doubt responsible for numerous disappearances of castaways. It rarely ventures near land, and the crew recognizes their stroke of luck at catching sight of one today. But they're also well aware of the danger. A thirst for discovery, lack of land space, tribal conflicts, no matter what the reasons were that drove the people to take to the sea, it seems that nothing could stop them. Not even the risk of running into a creature such as this. Back on land, on the island of Ua, our explorers decide to end their adventure as it began. In the heart of the dense primary forest that covers this nearly virgin island, the crew is closer than ever to the people they've been tracking over the past several weeks. Here, amid the unspoiled nature, the thousands of years separating them from the first Polynesians seem simply to have evaporated. The discovery of a huge banyan, towering nearly 30 meters high, marks the entry to the sacred land. On certain islands of the South Pacific, this tree symbolizes the link between the realm of man and the realm of the gods. Thus, the customary practice of burying the dead not far from its roots. The network of aerial routes opens up like a passageway, leading us back through time.
What's your head?
Is it a tapu place here?
No.
No one knows.
We still came in here, but they never stop us from this place. So I know it's.
But
Who are they? Old ones?
Yeah, probably from old people a long time ago.
Any archaeologists came here to make the study?
Not yet.
Kill you.
presence of sand and coral, which was formerly used to preserve bodies, tells Francis that this cave could very well have been an ancient burial ground.
There are still bones here. This is a tibia or a femur. I won't touch it, but it looks like it's intact. There too. I bet it's buried here, just beneath me. There's the skull.
Leaving the dead to rest in peace, it's time for Francis to return to the land of the living. And as a final homage to these lost men, the crew is going to pass through the looking glass by participating in a ritual that's thousands of years old. The members of the expedition are no longer mere adventurers, observers of a culture that had perplexed them up until now. Sharing kava, a drink prepared from the kava plant, is almost like fully experiencing the transmission of these deep-rooted ancestral traditions.
Maybe 1 a week, 2 a week. What is the
For somebody? No, to you. Thank you.
In Polynesia, priests have always used kava to enter a state of altered consciousness that would allow them to communicate with the gods and ancestors. Villagers also imbibe this psychotropic drink during religious and political ceremonies, a social act of genuine communion. When they set off on this expedition, the crew expected to find the origins of Polynesian culture and identity in the Marquesas. But as they explored the Pacific Isles on land and underwater, what they discovered was entirely different. The movement that populated the Polynesian Triangle began in the Tongas in about 1200 BC and constituted one of the greatest maritime adventures of all time. Archaeologists haven't finished piecing together the bigger picture, a story whose roots reach back about 4,000 years ago and lie somewhere near Taiwan. Meanwhile, legends continue to spark the people's dreams. They prefer to imagine that their ancestors discovered the islands of the Pacific by following along in the wake of whales. These sea mammals have always come to reproduce here in the calm waters during the short months of the southern winter.
Now, all we need to find out is what drove these people to cross the great ocean. Maybe nothing more than what drives us today, the same spirit of adventure, zest for exploration, and a certain thirst for somewhere else, perhaps.